Okay, everybody, welcome to this morning's Bambudda Boost. My name is Sheppard, and I'm the founder and CEO of Bambudda Group. We're a peer-to-peer coaching network for leaders looking for a different kind of leadership development. We also do all sorts of good stuff to try and make the world a kinder place and business kinder, and those leaders do very, very well by being kind as well. So we're very lucky today to have Luli join us. Luli is an expert in events. She's been around a long time. She's a seasoned professional. And this online thing isn't new to Luli. It's something she's been doing with her clients for quite a while. And she's an absolute expert when it comes to creating content and really engaging events online. That's a little bit more than a Zoom call, which we're all accustomed to now. So I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to disappear and I'm going to hand you over to the lovely Luli.
Bless you, Anna. Thank you very much. Don't go too far. Hi, everybody. Great to meet you all, kind of virtually. I'm just going to share my screen if you give me a second. There we go. So as Anna said, my name is Luli Adeyemo. I am the founder of an organization called Best Case Scenario, and we specialize in event marketing and event operations. I'm hoping you can hear me. This is the thing you lose with digital, is getting any feedback from the audience, and I'm a people person, so it kills me somewhat to be in this scenario. But anyway, today is all about creating virtual content for real people. I'm just going to give you a bit of background about myself and about my company. We've been around since 2007, so quite some time. Happy to still be here. Our real focus and our specialty has always been around developing content for our clients first, and looking at how that manifests itself in a physical event. Our key focus has always been around technology, and that's not just technology in regard to the use of it, but technology is an enabler in key industry verticals such as government, health, financial services, and tech, of course. Prior to COVID, we would run on average around 100 plus events a year for our clients. And that would vary from the small, intimate round tables to deep insights on a particular briefing on a topic, to larger symposium type sort of events with 500-600 people over multiple days. But then this happened. So, we're all feeling the impact of COVID-19, whether it's in our personal lives, in our business lives. And it's really forced us to stop for a moment and re-engage in a different way. So this is me and my team having a little Friday drink. I think this was at Easter, having a cheers, which was a lot of fun. But taking the need to make sure that you continue that engagement with your teams online and have a mechanism where we can actually still interact. There's a real potential, and I don't know about yourselves, but I've been bombarded of late with invites and requests to attend virtual meetings and Zoom meetings. And it can often result in the end of the day of you collapsing like this young man on your laptop and thinking, goodness me, I can't do this anymore. So there's a lot of noise out there at the moment. And I think, everybody's kind of trying to understand, how they can be relevant and how they can continue to engage with their audiences. But, the first thing you need to ask yourself is why? It's not about just doing something because you can, or just doing something because you think you should. What we really have an opportunity to do now is just to pause for a moment and really understand the reason why. So, why is it that the business? Oh, that's interesting. So we've got our first technical glitch. I'm not sure what's happened there. 1 second. You see, and this is Anna, it's your fault for advertising me as an expert in events. Let's try this again and see if we can get the right slide.
Also, it's a really nice example of what actually happens at events.
No, thanks, Anna. Thanks for saving me there. Can you see that again now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So the question of why. So this is what I encourage you all to do. Let's see if we can get it right this time. No, for some reason, let me just see. Can you see that now? I'm going to assume you can. What I implore you all to do within your organizations is to shout the reason why. Challenge the organization, challenge yourself to understand the reason behind you thinking and needing to do a particular event. So, you know, the reason behind this doesn't change because we're now hosting things in a digital manner. We should go through this process all of the time. So before we ask people to invest their time, let's understand the reason why we're asking them. Is there a particular need for what it is that we're saying? Do we really understand what their need is? So if I look at this and how we actually operate and how we work with our clients, you know, it's the first question we really challenge them with. So it's usually, and this is a very common response around why somebody wants to do an event, is because they want to sell something. Which is understandable. We all need to sell, and that's part of the everyday mechanism. But they come at it from the point of view around what they want to sell, as opposed to what their clients or their prospects actually need. So if you take it from the customer view and understanding what they actually need and position yourself that way, then you're really going to be you're going to be providing true value. Now, in my world, when it comes to the technology sector, a lot of what we do in regards to understanding what the customers need, we work with a lot of independent research organizations. So we get some intelligence and insights around what the market challenges are, and therefore what our clients' customers' challenges potentially are. And we come at it from that perspective. So now we've got an understanding of why we're doing something. That the next question that we ask ourselves is how. So we understand the reason why, but how are we actually going to deliver that to the audience? Now, this is the bit that's changed, obviously, over the last couple of months. It's that the how, the physical how has been taken away from the equation. So now it's a digital how. So I'm not going to talk about the platform so much because there's plenty of platforms such as Zoom and WebEx and Microsoft Teams that people are using. The how really looks at the type of engagement that you're looking for. Is this going to be an intimate discussion with a few senior executives? So, is it going to be facilitated by a moderator? Now, I can see one of my old colleagues, Craig, is on the call, who's an excellent facilitator. Now more than ever, the importance of someone to facilitate the discussion to get the most out of it, has been heightened. It's with when you think about if it's an executive roundtable discussion, you want to encourage that interaction between the people on the call. Then you need to make sure you have somebody that is an expert in the particular content, but also can encourage that flow and that dialogue between the people that are on the call. Otherwise you're not going to get the value out of it. In the same way, what I've found, and I've attended a lot of webinars over the last couple of months, the ones where I've got the most value have definitely been where there's been an interactive panel discussion. So you've got, you've got 3 people, and what that also gives you the opportunity to do is have a bit of diversity. So you can have 3 people touching and talking about different aspects of the topic. But the thing that really makes that successful, and the thing that's going to be the key to that success, once again, is the person that's facilitating that discussion. A facilitator's role isn't just about asking a question. A facilitator's role makes a whole conversation seem like a conversation and seem effortless. So it doesn't feel scripted. It feels very natural. So the one takeaway I'd give you around that, if you are doing a digital event or holding a digital conversation, please really think about the person that's going to facilitate that. And the best person isn't necessarily going to be the boss of the organization. The best person is whoever is the subject matter expert and someone that has a knack around facilitating conversations between people. The other important part around the how is these things don't just happen. Make sure that you have a briefing conversation with all the speakers at the same time prior to the actual webinar. What that does is not only make sure there's an understanding around the topic and what you're hoping they'll cover in the topic, but it gives them an opportunity to create a rapport between themselves, which again is really important in regards to ensuring that the audience get the most out of it. So it's funny. I think people have a perception that managing and operating virtual events is easier than physical, but it's the word I keep using is they become very bitty, because there's lots of moving parts that you need to consider that you don't have control over, because obviously the control is given to the person at the other end. So you need to make sure that there's plenty of testing that happens, there's an understanding of the platform that you're actually using, and the person is comfortable. So I think that briefing conversation helps just relax people and put them in a good mood. And on the relaxing people, and I've learned something from you today, I think getting people to provide a song of their choice and playing that before the actual webinar starts is an excellent tactic, because instantly people may be a little bit nervous, they don't like presenting, but you forget all of that straight away because you're bopping along to a song. So thank you for that. I know I will definitely take that on board for future events that I host. The next thing that I just wanted to touch on quickly is the what now. There's one thing that as event organizers that we're not very good at, and organizations are not very good at, is thinking about what happens after the event. The event is an opportunity to facilitate a conversation on a particular topic with some key stakeholders that need to be engaged to hopefully deliver a positive outcome. And I'm sure you've all been in situations where you've attended an event and you found it very useful, you've got some very good insights, you've made some good connections, and you leave there with the best intentions of changing the way that you're going to operate within your organization or thinking about things differently. And then what happens is you go back to the office, you go back to your day job, and nothing changes. And that's not, because you don't want it to, but there's a reality around what your requirements are, what your own KPIs are, that mean that you don't necessarily have the opportunity to follow up on the things that you'd learned during that particular seminar. Now, you'll often get a post-event survey situation that happens, which is great, just to capture the initial sentiments of the people that attended an event. But we can do a lot more than that. So, another thing I deplore you all to do and to consider is when you're looking at an engagement, think about don't just think about what you're going to talk about at the event. Think about what's going to happen after the event. What is the continuum beyond the actual event? And I hope that that's something that people really take on board and really consider during this period, because it's all about content, it's all about information more than ever. So if you've been to something, that you're running something, people have come, then what is the information that you can provide them after the event, which is going to further enhance the value of what you've put together? Now, in the tech world, we do this in a number of ways. We, as I said, we work with an independent research company. The reason why we use them is, as the name suggests, we want to bring in an independent viewpoint to a conversation. So yes, we may be running the event on behalf of a particular technology company, but it's for the conversation to be valuable to them. It can't just be one of their execs talking about their technology and how wonderful and marvelous it is. By bringing an independent viewpoint in, then we have a facilitated discussion, which is talking about broader conversations around the challenges that a particular sector may be facing, and looking at the different ways that technology can enable and help them. But after the event, we also have an opportunity to re-engage with that audience with an independent piece of research, which can be, part what's come from the research that's already been done, but also capturing the sentiments of the people that were part of that initial discussion. So, you've got something there which is really tangible and valuable to that audience to revert back to, and it also gives you a reason to continue the conversation with that particular audience. So they're the few tidbits that I really just wanted to leave you with today. We have, created a 5-point checklist when it comes to running and hosting virtual events, which I'm happy to share with you all. My details are here. Luli Adeyemo. You can reach me at luli@bestcasescenario.com.au. My address is also there as well, but don't come because I'm social distancing. But that's it for me today. I think that's been my 15 minutes. I'm going to hand you back to Anna. If you do have any questions, pop them in the chat, and I'm happy to respond accordingly.
Thank you so much, Luli. That was super helpful for people today. And do we have any questions for Luli? Anything? This is your opportunity. Thank you so much. Yes, would love to see those 5 tips. Awesome. Is there anybody that's putting an event on in the near future, or they're trying to, you know, create a better experience at the moment with their online content? I think one of the things that I find quite interesting, Luli, is, you know, we use events for connection, because connection is one of the most important things for Bambudda Group, is genuine, authentic connection and making people feel good, and the reality of that. Have you got any examples of, you know, where you've seen real standout differences with the way people have done things? That, you know, because it's so loud now, isn't there? There's so much noise out there with regards to events, and it's full on.
Yeah, and that's the exact point. It's kind of, you know, the why question is so important, because if you're just doing something for the sake of activity, then all you're doing is adding to that noise. So the authentic, in fact, actually, I've got a really good, there's an event we're running for a client this afternoon, a webinar. It's a technology company, but they've really thought about what businesses need at the moment. And it's not a sales pitch about technology. So they've gone out and they've actually got a keynote speaker who is a chap that runs the ABC show You Can't Ask That. And the reason why they've got Kirk on board is, you know, to forge a relationship with the business leaders, you know, recognizing that they've gone through a really challenging time. They, you know, their teams have gone through a really challenging time, and it's really challenging conversations that the business has had to have with their employees, and vice versa. So having some mechanisms and frameworks in place that help gauge you through those conversations and gauge a positive outcome for both the, you know, for the organization and the employee is really helpful. This has got absolutely nothing to do with their product. This is them coming at it from an authentic point of view around what do our customers really need, what's going to be helpful for them at the moment, which I think is fantastic.
Amazing. And when you're creating these experiences, Luli, do you think about how people feel as a result of those events? Is that, how much does that come into play with regards to the way you build those experiences out?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good question. And that goes both ways. It's, you know, how do you know, whether it's the speakers feel is really important. And I think, you know, the pre-work that goes in to these things, that's why that's so important. You know, if the speakers aren't comfortable, if there isn't a connection and a rapport between the speakers, then ultimately the audience aren't going to get the best experience either. So it's, you know, understanding, you know, exactly that, you know, what is the value that you're hoping to offer to your audience, and ultimately how will they feel after it. So, you know, it's, and it doesn't, you know, that's an emotive, right? That's not they're going to feel like picking up the phone and buying something. And I think, you know, once we can get ourselves out of the thinking that everything has to be about selling something, then, you know, ultimately you're going to be more successful. So, you know, it's, you want people feeling as though it's been a good use of their time, and feeling as though they've learned something from you, from that particular engagement, and something which is useful for whether it's them individually or useful for them in regards to the role that they play within their organization. So when you come at it from that perspective, then you're going to have a positive result on the other side.
Thanks, Lee. We've got a couple of last questions before we finish up here. So a lovely comment from Esther, just saying that she'd not really put a lot of thought into it before with regards to follow-up comms after an event. And that is quite a good point, because we're consuming things at such a speed. Like, you know, how long should you leave it until you follow these things up? And when have you missed the window with regards to any kind of re-engagement? And what would your advice be around that, Luli?
Yeah, I mean, and there's many schools of thought around that, and I think, you know, it has to be done on a case-by-case basis in regards to what the sort of engagement was. But it's the standard response. The standard I guess process is someone attends something, then straight away you'll get an EDM or links thanking you, and there might be a link for you to download something or download the actual session. But this isn't about just automating something for the sake of. This is around providing, again, more value. So when you come at it from the more value and understanding what that would look like, then it's giving that person a reasonable, whatever is deemed a reasonable amount of time to digest what they learned. But then, not too much time that it's kind of forgotten, that when you bring something back to them, they've forgotten. So it's getting that balance, right? You don't want to, you don't want to bombard them. But, you want to give them a reasonable amount of time to digest what they took on board during the session, depending on how long the session actually was, whether it's a full-day conference. But you've also got to give yourself time to actually create something which is going to be of value for them. So we have a process in place with the independent research, that because we're not just sending them a marketing flyer, we're actually creating something which takes on board what was discussed at that particular session and what was discussed with the people that attended it. So it's customized. So it takes us a couple of weeks to actually create that, and then get it back to the client. So that's an example of we're not just sending them something because we can. We're actually creating something which is customized according to their particular needs. So it's a long-winded answer, but it really depends on what sort of touch and what sort of information you want to follow up with.
Yeah, so to summarise, make it personal, and don't send an email saying great to see you at the event last July. Here's the follow-up 6 months later. So Sue, one final question and then we'll let you go, Luli. So Sue Jackson's had a really good question here. She was saying, what do you think the future of events will change? And will we get value from continuing with digital events versus face-to-face events post-COVID-19?
Yeah, great question, Sue. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And one that we're discussing and debating a lot at the moment. I think what will happen, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I think you're going to have this blended model, which will be a combination of physical events and digital events. And I think what will happen, I think most organisations will have and I'll give you an example. Actually, we run a program for tech diversity, which has typically been an awards program for diversity groups in the technology sector. They have a big awards evening gala dinner thing every year, and that's been their main physical event. We're working with them now on a communication webinar series, which looks at key topics within the tech diversity conversation. But you still need that human interaction, social interaction is so important. You're never going to get anything that bonds people more than actually physically seen and that face to face. But I think what will happen, there will be smaller interactions. And again, they'll really think about when does that need to happen? So, are we going to have one flagship event where we get our main stakeholders together, and the rest of the time we build in a digital communication platform? So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what does happen. But I think you'll get this blended model of digital. Digital events have never been embraced, like they have now. They've been something that have been around forever. They've been something like webinars are something that we've always, encouraged as a form of, effective communication. But it's been a hard thing to get organisations to embrace. So now they've seen how they do work and how they can provide value. I think they will become, part of the engagement mix now more than they have done in the past.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Luli, and thank you for your friendship, and thank you for donating this time today to give advice to everybody. I hunted Luli down for about 2 months to get her to do it. Just showed up on a doorstep, and eventually she agreed. So thank you so much for doing this for us. And we've got a lot more boosts coming up for you, and this is going on till the end of July in its current format, and then we're going to be looking at, doing a bit of that consultation and looking at the best ways moving forward to blend that model, as Luli said. Tomorrow it's all about positive psychology and it's all about your people, and Tegan Davies is the GM at Orange's Toolkit, which is the social enterprise of Camp Quality, the children's cancer charity, is going to come and give us some tips and advice around building resilience at this time with your teams. Everyone's feeling a little bit wobbly, everyone's feeling a little bit anxious. What's happening next? The phases are changing, and what does the new workplace look like? But most importantly, how can you support and love your team through this time? So tune in tomorrow, sign up for that. Big round of applause for Luli. And go on into your day, be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. Lots of love, and we'll see you again.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.
Take care.